China has been one of the biggest auto markets in the world. Now, how would the rise of Chinese players impact global automotive competition?
We're at a very interesting time. Sort of the regional competitions, if you will, between China and the US and Europe, that doesn't seem to be going away. It seems to be in many ways getting more extreme. I think at least if we hear what the politicians have to say, they now believe we have to have more secure supplies. This isn't just for automobiles or chips, it's for healthcare, for vaccines, for everything. So there's a big concern about how the security of the supply chain is affected by where you make the product and where it comes from. And there's a feeling that if we have more manufacturing capacity closer to the market, that might be more secure. That's why we're seeing less of a completely globalized supply chain strategy and one that's evolving towards more regional ones. But the dynamics of globalization are not going to go away. A few years back, we did a survey of companies asking them, how are you restructuring your supply chains? And this was maybe 5 years ago. And that was at a time when there was a lot of discussion of China becoming too expensive. The labor costs were going up much faster than in the US. Predictions were made that we're going to reshore and bring manufacturing capacity back. It hasn't really happened to a great extent. In many cases, the economics that dictated offshoring or moving to Asia or moving to somewhere else, and also moving out of China to other places of Asia. So we saw a lot of restructuring occurring, a lot of trade-offs being considered and evaluated. And I think that dynamic isn't going to go away. There are more constraints, there are more risks that's going to affect it. The incentive structure is changing. But I don't think we're going to go back to a system that is not globalized, that it's still in the interests of both the consumer and of the producer to find the most efficient supply chain. If you can do that, you can be competitive. So I think that a lot of the structure that we've seen will persist. There will be changes, to be sure, but I don't think it's going to go away, if you will.
In terms of core competence, do you have some advice for automotive manufacturers, particularly EV players, to survive in the global race?
I think, as I said, there's a lot of innovation that's occurring because a lot of it is software as opposed to hardware, right? So the ability to change the look and feel of the driving experience. So I think that the EV manufacturers are going to continue to explore ways to make the driving experience more interesting, more exciting, and use technologies for that. We actually move to autonomous driving. That's crazy. That means you can read a book while you're driving or have a nap. If we can have complete charging capabilities, wireless everywhere, then you don't have to worry about stopping to charge your car. So this will change the way society looks. If you look at the map of the US and what has happened in the last 250 years, a lot of it was driven by the automobile, being able to connect places. And so we built the road structure. That was an amazing, and I know in China, there's been amazing investments in the infrastructure and the roads and the railroads. And all of that has taken place, and that affects fundamentally the structure of society. So I think that the EV manufacturers have the ability to change a lot of things in life. And they have the ability to modify their products, perhaps more rapidly, and to make it more of a user experience. So in that sense, it's exciting. Where it'll all go, that's, it's hard to predict. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with creating like a user experience, which is enhanced through software. I have a Tesla, and the other day, we noticed they had downloaded a whole new interface. They don't ask you, they just download new software. It was raining. I couldn't turn on the windshield wiper because I couldn't find where it was. They had moved it, okay? So I wasn't very pleased. But it was a much nicer looking interface. I have to give them credit for that. So this is the kind of thing that you see in computer systems. We never saw this in automobiles. So the automobile is becoming more like a computer. and the auto companies are becoming more like computer companies, and perhaps some of the computer companies will start producing automobiles. I think those are some of the interesting changes that are occurring.